For 16 years, the girl believed she had lived the right way and never imagined herself walking a dangerous path. Yet now, she finds herself heading straight into a future she never expected. To understand how we got here, the scene shifts to the school courtyard, where two girls are arguing. As the dispute continues, a third girl with her hair in a ponytail approaches and asks what's going on. The dark-haired girl answers first, explaining that something involving Takazato happened earlier, while the straight-haired girl adds her side, mentioning Kino Yami. The girl with the ponytail listens to both of them and considers how the situation might have been misunderstood. She reflects on how Takazato's firm way of speaking may have contributed to the issue and points out that unclear communication can easily create confusion. Both girls fall silent for a moment, reflecting on her words. The girl with the ponytail shares her opinion, pointing out that both of them made mistakes, but also had valid reasons. The straight-haired girl responds by calling her Mama Mickey, while the black-haired girl looks at her with admiration and agrees. In the end, both accept her judgment, saying she truly seems like Mama Mickey in that moment. Nearby, two boys who have been observing the scene comment to each other. One of them notes that her handling of the situation matches what they expected from Mama Mickey, impressed by the way she manages the disagreement. She is Rine Mickey, known around Shizurugaoka High as someone who behaves like a mum for many students. He mentions that she gives the impression of being someone who would attract attention from boys, yet he believes she is not in a relationship. The other boy reacts with surprise, unable to imagine that detail at first. The dark-haired boy says her looks are too striking, which might influence how others see her. The other boy thinks her appearance is fine, but feels her caring nature makes her seem more like a guardian than a potential romantic partner. Later that same day, the other boy walks home together with Rini. As they move along the road, he begins sharing his thoughts about the reason Chihaya believes she does not attract attention from boys. Rini reacts with confusion, surprised that he brings up such a topic, and she questions why he suddenly speaks in such a manner. Chihaya continues explaining that he has considered this matter for several years. He reflects on how she has always behaved kindly and politely. He also mentions that even when she was younger, her appearance was never lacking, which makes him wonder why boys do not approach her. Rina listens and briefly shows her appreciation, but Chihaya continues, pointing something out about her. He says she falls between different expectations. Surprised, she asks what he means. Chihaya explains that boys who like gentle, caring girls prefer a simple, neat look, while boys who like bold girls expect a striking presence. She fits between these types, so no group of boys is drawn to her. Rina reacts to this explanation and considers his words harsh, but he insists that he is giving sincere guidance. He tells her to choose either a style that matches a calmer image or a manner that aligns with a more noticeable appearance, suggesting that doing so would broaden her possibilities. She wonders about this idea of the world opening for her, and he tells her that she prefers a quiet and limited life. He concludes that with such a mindset, she will not become popular among boys. Rini, however, accepts this outcome and expresses that she is comfortable with it. After returning home, she sits down and applies nail polish to her toes. While doing this, she reflects on how she has never attracted attention from boys throughout her life. She looks at her freshly painted nails and thinks they appear nicely done. She considers how others describe her appearance as too noticeable, yet Renee knows she simply enjoys clothing and accessories that follow stylish trends. As she continues, she thinks about how wearing socks hides the nails from view, knowing that the rules at school are not strict, but the students would still react strongly if they noticed something as bright as her nails. Rini then thinks about the reason she behaves so caringly. She remembers that for many years she has taken care of younger children in her neighborhood, which shaped her gentle habits. Realizing this, she suddenly feels she should address the situation in some way. She thinks about her daily behavior and feels satisfied with how normal she is, without any dissatisfaction toward her own nature. Still, she focuses on the idea of being liked by boys and on what is considered appealing or expected. Even so, she concludes that she does not feel concerned about those expectations and does not place importance on trying to meet them. During the Shizurugaoka festival, she is working at her assigned area. While she continues with her tasks, two of her friends rush toward her and ask for her assistance. Rina turns to them and tries to understand the situation. They explain that 3 girls from the midday shift were approached by others and then walked off, leaving responsibilities behind. Rini listens and prepares to help however she can. Her friends, seeing that the shop area is functioning smoothly, rely on her once again. They tell her that she needs to go to the North School building to handle both the search for missing participants and recruitment-related matters. She is also to bring back anyone who should be present. Before she leaves, they hand her an outfit and instruct her to wear it, explaining that their group is operating as a themed cafe. Rini looks at the outfit and realizes it resembles the clothing of a much younger student. This makes her question the reasoning behind such a choice and whether it is meant as a tactic for the event. Nearby, the rest of her friends talk among themselves. They comment on how she naturally gives off a nurturing presence even while dressed in an outfit that makes her appear younger. They remark that her hairstyle adds to the impression, making her seem like a small child once again. Rin prepares herself, accepts the tasks, and decides to head toward the North School building. As she begins to walk, the others watch her and react to her appearance, finding her unexpectedly charming in the costume. She thinks about how unusual those earlier remarks felt to her. She cannot even tell if they were meant positively and wonders if something is wrong with her. On the way, she notices a girl whose papers have fallen to the ground. Renee bends down, gathers the scattered sheets, arranges them properly, and returns them to her. After that, she continues walking. A little ahead, two boys are attaching a signboard to a cart and discussing how one of the fasteners had come loose. Rina stops and helps them as well. When they thank her, she listens quietly and prepares to continue on her way. The same girl from earlier notes how pale Renee looks and suggests she rest. She adds that our girl seems surprisingly thoughtful for someone who looks so young. Renee tries to explain, but the girl keeps comparing her to people her own age before walking away. After walking a bit more, Renee reaches the building and pauses. She reflects on how people keep treating her like an older caretaker, even though they still confuse her for someone younger. She thinks about how she feels even more like a caretaker than she intends to be. She also finds it unusual for someone her age. Standing there, she decides that she will avoid stepping in to assist others unnecessarily from now on. As she continues along the path, she notices a child who appears weighed down by something. She studies him for a moment and wonders if he is unwell, but then realizes he is rapidly flipping through a pamphlet. She considers whether he might be unsure of where to go. His casual clothing makes her think he is likely a guest, and his age seems close to someone in middle school. With that in mind, she believes that assisting a visitor falls under what a student should normally do. She feels confident approaching him. She walks over and checks if he is facing any issues, offering to figure things out with him. He explains that he is not sure of his way. Rennie observes his appearance and notes that his voice is higher and his skin looks soft, leading her to think carefully about his age. He shares that he has already reached out to his family but has not received any confirmation from them yet. He mentions that he came for an early-stage admission test but ended up separated from them. Hearing this, Rennie thinks about the admission test and concludes he must indeed be a middle schooler. She compares him to the boys in her own class, who seem more mature, and reflects on how much difference 2 years can make. The kid then asks about her situation and wonders if her guardians are nearby, thinking she might also be lost. Renee realizes that he assumes she is younger than she is. She answers that her guardians are not present at the moment. The boy expresses relief, believing that someone her age being lost makes his own situation feel less embarrassing. Rin agrees outwardly, thinking she cannot respond any differently given the atmosphere between them. After this, the boy prepares to leave. He suggests that they move around the area together while they look for both of their families. Rini hesitates, thinking about how she appears, but then realizes that staying away from her own classmates would make it less complicated. She also remembers that she is supposed to invite people for an activity and thinks she can manage that at the same time. After considering it, she agrees. The boy reacts with clear excitement. They enter the festival grounds together. She notices how genuinely delighted he looks and reminds herself to behave in a way that helps him feel comfortable. She tells herself that it is only for the day, though she feels uneasy about not being honest regarding her age. Her conscience aches slightly because of the false impression she allowed him to believe. The boy then introduces himself as Toma Ichinose and asks for her name. Rine does not catch it immediately and has to refocus before giving her own name as Rine Miki. When Toma repeats it, he wonders aloud about a shortened version of her name, Kirin. Rini thinks about it and admits she has never been addressed that way. She finds the idea pleasant and prefers it over being compared to a caretaker. She encourages him to use the nickname. Toma comments on the meaning connected to his own name and notes that their names together sound like something humorous. Rini responds lightly. He says he's glad to meet her using the new nickname. She thinks to herself that it's an unusual name for her. Rina dwells on how it is the first time a boy has ever addressed her in such a familiar way. She then returns his greeting and acknowledges him. Toma calls out to her again, using the nickname. While she wipes her eyes, he checks on her. She explains that she is simply unfamiliar with being addressed like that and feels slightly self-conscious. Toma asks if it troubles her and reacts with amusement at her response. Rina admits internally that she is also not accustomed to those kinds of words. At that moment, she hears her name being called from behind. When she turns, she sees Chihaya approaching. Rene quickly grabs his hand and pulls him aside, trying to steer him away. Once they are out of the boy's view, she asks why he is there. Chihaya mentions that the class is running a costume cafe and comments on her outfit. Rene firmly instructs him not to interact with anything related to the situation, not to involve himself further, and to forget whatever he has just seen. Chihaya offers to buy her a large amount of takoyaki, and Rine accepts the offer. After that, she returns to Toma and apologizes to him. He asks Rin if she knows the boy, and she explains that he is someone she has known since childhood. Toma comments on the idea of childhood friends and wonders if she tends to be more interested in boys closer to high school age. Rine internally corrects him, imagining his friend as a middle schooler. She thinks about Chihaya Ninomiya and reflects that any connection with him could appear suspicious if Toma misunderstood. She decides that age doesn't matter when it comes to feelings for someone. She thinks that liking a person should be based on their character, not their age. She remembers that her parents have a 2-year age difference and that she has never had romantic feelings for that boy. Even without any personal experience in love, she concludes that falling in love isn't about age. Toma says this makes him feel better, and Rina quietly agrees in her mind. Her phone starts ringing, reminding her that she had forgotten several things. She quickly contacts her friends, checking if everything is okay. They respond that it is fine and mention that there is some cake left for her to eat when she returns. They explain that the event has ended and everything has been sold out. Toma notices her reaction and asks if she needs to take care of anything. Rina realizes that everything has turned out well. He then suggests that they continue walking together. She agrees and guides him as they move toward another part of the festival. While walking, Rin reflects on how relieved she feels that her classmates returned safely and that their event was successful. She notices that she does not want the time spent with Toma to end yet. A small part of her feels warm at the thought of the moment she is sharing with him. She acknowledges that she is going along with the moment and decides to exchange contact information with him. After that, they share their details. Rine wonders about where he lives and whether it is near the school she visited before. She observes him focusing on his studies, noting that he has been using his mind actively and must be tired. She finds it considerate of him. Soon, his messages begin arriving rapidly, and he asks her to join him at the autumn festival later in the week. She believes that the upcoming outing could almost feel like a date, but she quickly reminds herself that she has very little experience with situations like this. Her thoughts are becoming exaggerated. She considers that simply being together does not automatically make it a date. She recalls that she has spent time with Chihaya before, without any romantic implications. She questions the distinction between spending time together casually and what might be considered a date. Rini then realizes that her current concern is not about labeling the situation, but about whether she genuinely wants to go and see him. After thinking it over, she decides that she does want to meet him. Feeling certain about her decision, she prepares herself to go. She decides that if she is going to continue spending time with Toma, even as friends, she does not want to keep hiding who she really is. She wants him to see her as she usually appears, not in the middle school outfit she had been wearing. As she arrives at the meeting spot, Toma notices her and comments on how mature she looks today. Rini explains that this is her normal attire. She asks if he came dressed as usual, and he replies that he was delayed by his club activities and arrived from school in his regular clothes. He mentions that although he belongs to the chemistry club, he spent the day working with the crafts club, helping clean and organize the craft room and making slime. Rini thinks to herself that he is still very much a middle schooler, a fully fledged one, and realizes that the examination he mentioned must be the preliminary test for middle school admission. She notes that he seems very busy, probably preparing for the entrance exams. Toma then puts on his mask and takes her hand, guiding her a short distance forward. He stands directly in front of her, holding her hand and looking into her eyes. He explains that he is working hard on his exams, which means there will be days ahead when they cannot meet. He assures her that he will send messages daily and spend as much time with her as possible. As he moves closer to remove his mask, Rina instinctively steps back, feeling that he is acting unusually close. She realizes that the situation is creating a sense of affection, the kind that might be expected between people who are more than friends. Toma reminds her that she had agreed to accompany him, and she reflects that she had not considered he might interpret that as spending time in a more personal way. She realizes that he still sees her as younger than she really is, which complicates how she responds. Toma steps directly in front of Rini again, holding her face gently with both hands. He confesses that he has loved her all this time since they first met, and promises to take good care of her, even if his usual appearance is relatively flashy. Then, he kisses her. Toma holds Rina close, finally expressing the feelings he has kept inside for so long and admitting he has cared for her from the beginning. When he leans in toward her, she stops him and steps back, hesitating. Her reaction leaves him thinking that the look on her face is something he cannot handle. At that moment, Rina remembers there is something she must take care of. She apologizes and decides to leave for the day. Toma is mildly surprised but accepts it. As she walks away, he calls out, reminding her that it is already dark and offering to walk with her. She declines, saying she is fine. He calls out once more, telling her he will contact her later as she continues walking away. When she reaches home, she sits alone, overwhelmed by how unexpectedly everything unfolded. Before she can fully process it, she realizes that someone has confessed to her for the first time. She now finds herself in a situation she has never experienced before. She tries to gather her thoughts, but everything remains scattered, especially because she knows he is younger. She settles at her desk and examines the matter seriously. The age gap becomes the first point she considers. She compares her age to different ranges, marking what feels acceptable and what does not. She notes the group close to her age, then the slightly younger one, and finally the point where it becomes too young, where it stops feeling appropriate. She studies these lower ranges carefully, fully aware that they lie outside what she can allow. She realizes how close she had been to stepping into something unsafe. The awareness settles heavily, and she knows she cannot continue this. While lost in thought, a notification appears. Toma asks if she reached home safely and reminds her to stay warm so she does not fall ill. Reading his gentle message, she remembers how she left early, yet he still speaks kindly. Another line says he will try to make time despite everything and that she may sometimes feel lonely because of it. He promises to treat her kindly. She realizes he truly means well and does not want to hurt him. She replies briefly, saying she arrived home and apologizing for how the day went. When he reads her message immediately, she slips back into her thoughts. She knows she must handle this, but every approach feels too harsh. She thinks about telling him that she can't continue, or that she never intended to start anything, but she can't bring herself to say it outright. She imagines how he might react if he learns she's older than he thinks. He could feel misled or lose trust in people. She worries that the impact might be too much for him. After thinking all night, she chooses the quietest method she can. When he messages again, asking if they can meet the next night, she replies that she is unwell. He asks if she is free on Sunday and suggests eating near the station. She apologizes again, saying she is unavailable. Internally, she admits she is choosing the slowest way to withdraw, letting the connection fade naturally. Her thoughts circle endlessly as she convinces herself that in time, he will stop reaching out. Another message arrives asking if he can call her. Later, she explains she was occupied. He apologizes politely, and she realizes this pattern will eventually make the messages fade. She then sends him a note saying she saw flowers that suit him, adding a small confession of affection and an apology. She feels she has reached her limit and cannot find another path. On her way, she runs into Chihaya, who reminds her of the food she promised him. She had forgotten and acknowledges it softly. He insists she made a promise, but she tells him she cannot today because she feels unwell and has no appetite. He studies her face and asks if something has happened. She thinks she is exhausted from pretending, yet she continues because the situation requires it. As Chihaya talks, another message from Toma appears, asking if she has a moment and saying he wants to see her briefly. Another message follows, mentioning the area where she lives and saying he will search for her if necessary. He describes how he will go through the place section by section until he finds her. She is startled by the idea, thinking only someone his age would plan something like that. She wonders how large he imagines the area to be and compares his determination to searching for insects. She cannot allow a student preparing for exams to wander around like this. She quickly replies, telling him to wait while she prepares and that she will come out to meet him. She goes to a small park near the nearest station, thinking it matches the kind of place someone his age might choose and that fewer people will see them. At the park, Toma sits alone on a swing. When he notices Rina, he gets up and approaches her. She feels uneasy for choosing a spot this far, but he shows no concern. She realizes she came here impulsively and now struggles to begin. Before she can speak, Toma lowers his head and apologizes, convinced she is upset. He believes he must have caused it by leaning in earlier, assuming she avoided him for that reason. He explains he came only to say this and apologizes again. Rina knows he misunderstood. She reaches out to his shoulder and tells him he does not need to feel guilty. She feels she should be the one apologizing for leaving so suddenly and treating him unfairly afterward. She reflects that both of them struggle with interactions, making mistakes yet also doing some things right. She reassures him he does not need to carry the worry alone and regrets causing him concern. He responds by commenting on her kindness. She realizes her instinct to take responsibility has surfaced again, shifting her original intention. Toma then extends his hand and suggests they resolve things with a simple gesture, adjusting his words to a handshake. Rini accepts, since it is nothing more than that, and they join hands. As their palms meet, she notices the warmth in his fingertips and feels a strange tension rise in her chest. They stand together in the quiet park, still holding hands. At that moment, Chihaya happens to pass by. He notices them immediately and reacts with surprise, seeing them standing close with their hands joined. Rina senses the shift, aware he may question what he is seeing. This scene may reveal their age difference far sooner than she intended. Chihaya approaches the two of them and asks what they are doing. Rini becomes irritated and grabs him by the front of his shirt, demanding to know why he is following her. He quickly explains that he is not trailing her and is only returning home from work. Toma steps in and asks if Chihaya might be her friend from childhood. Chihaya confirms it. Toma introduces himself, mentioning that he is in his 6th year of elementary school and that he is allowed to be in a relationship with Rina. Hearing this, Chihaya reacts sharply. Rine, still annoyed, says they will talk about it later. Chihaya turns to leave, mentioning that he will head home before it gets dark. Before leaving, he acknowledges Toma and says he will see him another time. After Chihaya leaves, Rine stands there reflecting on what just happened. She realizes that keeping what he witnessed a secret will cost her 300 pieces of takoyaki. Toma then turns to Rine and asks about her relationship with the friend she has known since childhood. Rine explains that it is not that they get along poorly, but that they remain connected in a way neither of them can fully avoid. Toma takes her hand, giving a reminder of the bond he believes they share. Rina feels the firmness of his grip and, while thinking about it, tells him that she is not what he assumes her to be. Later, Chihaya and Rine sit together playing a video game. He grows frustrated because he cannot solve anything in the game. Rine comments that this outcome is typical for the situation. He reacts even more irritably, saying that what just happened feels like something from a short comedic routine. Rina remarks that he laughs excessively. He insists that he is genuinely troubled, not amused. Feeling irritated, Chihaya uses a strong character against her in the game. Rini immediately asks him to stop, and he apologizes afterward. The ranking screen appears, showing Rini in first place, Chihaya in second, and Mamayani in third. Chihaya then asks what she intends to do next. Rine, contemplating her situation, says that she feels she should end her current relationship soon. Chihaya tells her that it is not about what she thinks she is supposed to do, but about what she truly wants. Rini, tired and uncertain, struggles to respond. Chihaya suggests that she could simply choose to be with the boy involved. He adds that he personally has no objection to it. Rin immediately rejects the idea. She begins listing the qualities she notices in Toma, mentioning that he is considerate, kind, and youthful, yet surprisingly mature despite their large age difference. Chihaya listens and points out that she has focused on the matter of age for quite some time. He asks if it is possible that she actually has feelings for the boy himself. Rina reacts with confusion, unsure what he means. Chihaya questions her reaction. She explains that she has never experienced being in love and does not understand what romantic feelings should feel like. He then mentions how her heart seems to react when she is with Toma and how she seems pleased whenever she gets a chance to see him. She denies it at first, but admits that her heartbeat has quickened around Toma before. She thinks it might be because he acted toward her in ways unfamiliar to her. When Chihaya asks what he did, she recalls that Toma backed her against a wall. Suddenly, Chihaya gets up and does the wall slam while standing close in front of her. He asks how she feels in that moment. Rini thinks and realizes that she feels irritation and the urge to strike him. Chihaya acknowledges this and points out that when Toma acted this way toward her, her heartbeat accelerated, showing that the boy means something different. After saying this, he moves away and sits on the sofa. Rini stays standing near him, considering everything he just said. Chihaya advises her that she needs to avoid doing anything careless that could trouble or hurt Toma, especially because he is preparing for important examinations. He reminds her that this period is significant for him. Rini thinks seriously about his words and realizes he is right. As she leaves, she decides that she cannot allow Toma to become concerned about her or let his situation fall apart because of her presence. She resolves that, at least until his exams are finished, she must avoid complicating things. Before going, she wishes him good night and decides to act appropriately for someone in his stage of life. She plans to meet him at their usual spot, intending to behave simply and friendly without creating unnecessary confusion. Later, Renee receives a message from Toma asking if they can meet after school. She goes to see him and he greets her warmly, saying it feels like a long time since their last meeting. She reminds him that they actually saw each other only 2 days earlier, and even the previous week. He hesitates but explains that the day they did not meet felt extremely long to him. Rinne reflects on their differing sense of time, realizing that a younger student experiences the day in a slower, more stretched-out way due to constant new information and developing memory. She recalls feeling the same when she was in elementary school. Toma then asks if he may touch her, and Rinne initially feels confused before realizing he means her hand. She offers it with a small smile and says it is fine if it is only that, thinking he does not need permission every time as long as it stays within appropriate boundaries. Even something so simple makes her heartbeat react. Toma presses his palms against hers, and she becomes aware of how deliberate and focused his touch feels. The sensation makes her wonder why it feels so intense. Suddenly, he lifts her hand and places a light kiss on it. Startled, Rinne quickly pulls her hand back, confused by her reaction. He apologizes and explains that her hand felt cold, so he thought about warming it. Rinne tells him she is sensitive to cold temperatures. She notices that her body feels noticeably warmer afterward and is surprised by the sudden change. The two sit together on a bench. Rinne watches him quietly, noting how naturally and without hesitation he behaves. She reminds herself that 4 months remain before his exams and wonders whether her heart will be able to handle everything until then. She asks about his studies, mentioning that they have been meeting frequently and wanting to ensure he is managing well. Toma explains that he already received a strong evaluation for Shizuru Gaoka during the spring tests. Rinne tells him he should still remain careful, though he does not seem to be in any real difficulty. She is surprised by his performance and asks if he could aim for a more competitive school, including well-known ones in the city. She wonders aloud if he might simply be naturally gifted. Toma answers that he believes he could be accepted into those schools as well, but he wants to choose Shizuru Gaoka because it is where he first encountered her. He is determined to pass the entrance exam for that reason. He adds that he does not want the girl he cares for to see him in a situation where he appears unsuccessful, strengthening his determination. Rinne is shaken inside, realizing she has already influenced his future in a way she never intended. Currently, she feels like Kiran, the elementary student, and if she were to mention a possibility, he might agree without hesitation. She tells him that she plans to attend a nearby public middle school. Hearing this, Toma immediately says that he wants to abandon the exam and follow her to the same school. Rinne panics internally and decides that if he ever seriously asks, she will find a gentle way to prevent it. Out loud, she tells him to do his best and that she will support him. Toma reacts as though such encouragement is heavier than she realizes. He explains that when people like his cram school instructor give similar advice, the pressure can feel overwhelming, but when support comes from someone he truly cares about, it affects him differently. He places his hand over hers and thanks her, using the name he knows her by. Inside, Rinne feels a deep warmth and admits to herself that it is impossible not to be genuinely happy when he expresses himself so honestly. She wishes she could respond properly. She wonders if they had been the same age. Maybe they could have attended the same school and openly been together. They eventually start walking side by side and when their paths separate, say their goodbyes. Once home, Rinne continues thinking about how things might have been if their ages matched and whether they could have shared school life and gone out without hiding anything. She wonders why it has to be this way, with her as a high school student. Rinne sits at her dressing table, looking at her nail polishes, thinking about which shade to use. Since it is the weekend, she considers a bright neon color and matching it with a similar shade for her toes. She looks at more muted tones, wondering if a natural skin-colored option or soft pink might be better. She questions whether bold colors would be too noticeable. She then wonders what shade Toma would prefer. She applies the color to her nails and observes the result, thinking that he might react positively. Seeing her finished nails, she finds them charming. Later, Rinne meets Toma at a coffee shop. He notices her nails and comments, comparing the color to flowers blooming in the school's garden during spring. Rinne reacts to his observation and listens as he recalls the type of flowers they resemble. She asks if he likes the shade, and he tells her it suits her well, adding that most things look good on her anyway. Inside, Rinne feels delighted because he approves of the color she chose. She realizes this might be the first time he has casually touched her nails, and the thought stays with her as she sits with him. One day at school, Rinne checks her phone and sees a message from Toma sent the previous night. She notices he has not viewed her reply yet, which feels unusual. She goes through her morning routine, with classmates greeting her and making casual remarks about physical education and lunch plans. She continues thinking about why Toma has not responded. She wonders if he might be occupied and tells herself it is just ordinary conversation. A notification appears, and she reads his message. He apologizes, saying nothing serious happened. He explains that he was absent during the second period's physical education class and rested in the infirmary. Renee becomes alarmed and asks if he is all right. He assures her he is fine and only lacked sleep the previous night. He explains that all he did was rest, so he is feeling better again. She reminds him that even students preparing for exams should not push themselves to the point of collapsing. She wonders if he exhausted himself from studying too much. She tells him to maintain proper sleep and meals. Toma asks if she is worried about him, and when she confirms, he expresses that he appreciates it. Renee realizes she might have sounded like she was taking care of a child. She blurts out that she is concerned because she is his girlfriend, and admits that she has never been in love before, so she does not fully understand the feeling of a heart reacting intensely. She then asks if he feels well enough to meet briefly after school. After classes end, she runs to find him. When she reaches him, she grabs his hand firmly, telling him that she had been truly anxious about him. Deep inside, she feels a strong warmth spreading within her heart as she holds on to him.
Here I am.